Hey all, welcome back to Let's Be Bold, and today we are continuing our series on the 7 different types of rest, and we are going to be talking about physical rest today. So join me for some stretching. Now, there are 2 different types of physical rest. There is passive rest, which is the sleep that we get during the evenings typically. Our napping even will be considered passive rest. And there's active rest, which is what we're going to be doing today with some stretching, mostly for physical rest. What that's looked like for me has been stretching. And I've been focusing specifically on my lower body. And so I've got some stretches today that are specifically around my hips, and I do them for about 20 seconds each, right, Mari? She might do some stretching with this. And so that is active rest. Active rest can also look like some other things that I can't afford. For example, massages would be considered physical rest. I got the massage back in March. That was really nice when we went to a trip to Las Vegas with my mom for her birthday. And so that is another way that physical rest can look. Somebody asked me if physical rest can also look like walking. And to that, I would say absolutely, right? Because it's not a huge exertion on the body, and yet at the same time, we get our joints moving and we move our muscles around, and that is absolutely something that will bring physical rest to our bodies. So what this has looked like for me this week, let me get up to position here, is doing some stretching in the morning to start my day. There's actually been a couple of nights this week where I was up in the middle of the night, which isn't fun, but to help myself reorient towards the restful state, I just got up and I did some stretching. And I got up really quietly because I didn't want to wake up the dog, because if she got up and she would have wanted to go outside and things like that. And I'm like, it's 3 in the morning, not about to go outside. So the mornings were good opportunities for me to do some stretching. When I got breaks in the office during the day seeing my clients, that was also helpful for me, especially because as a therapist, I do a lot of sitting. And my chair is not the most comfortable. And so it hurts sometimes to sit for hours on end. And so in between my sessions or when I had a break during the day, Amari is making this about her right now. Amari, I gotta get my stretching in. I would stretch, and that was really helpful for me. So what I have found as far as the rest that this brings my body is it helps me to slow down. Slowing down is something that I'm trying to be more mindful of in life. I definitely don't want to be in the space of being fast-paced all day long. That is something that was a big part of my last job. I feel like there were times where I would move really quickly. I was seeing clients at their houses at the time, and that was just really stressful, and I was working long days, and so I was like, we're gonna slow down. So stretching helps me slow down. It also helps me to check in with my body. Now, when I was younger, for several years, actually, I was a cheerleader. And one of the things I've learned in this process is I am not as flexible as I used to be. And it turns out that indeed, use it or lose it is real, I guess. So definitely keep that in mind. You guys are free to do some stretching with me. Now, I'm not like a physical expert, and nor am I trained in yoga. So these are just some ideas that I got off the internet. So yes, slowing down, one, and then two, checking in on my body, being aware of where there might be some tightness that I didn't realize was there until I started stretching, or even some pain that I didn't realize that was there until I started stretching. Now, I'm not talking about excruciating pain, right? If you are doing some stretching and there's excruciating pain, there might be some further issues. But for me personally, stress gets stored in my body and in my muscles, particularly in my shoulders, which I think is pretty normal for a lot of people. But I'm also finding that sometimes stress gets stuck in my thighs and in my hips. And so stretching helps me move through some tension, and move through some stress that I did not realize that I was holding there. And so it's helpful to just take a deep breath and to help that move. Mari, you seem to be very confused about what is happening currently. Do you want to stretch with me? Can you sit? No? No, okay. Ooh, that's a good stretch. We're gonna be doing that in a little bit. She got a good, downward dog going here, which is really natural for her. Mariposa. Thank you. Okay, so I just lost my track of thought now. What was I saying? It helps me check in with my body. Does it help you check in with your body too? She's like, I don't know. My human is just down here on the floor, and so this seems like a place that I need to be. I know. Okay, gotta do this side. Ooh. I am incorporating a couple of different types of rest that we've talked about. So I've got some sensory rest going, right? I have this rug on the floor and it's really fluffy. So being mindful about how that feels in my body on my body as I stretch is really nice. And it also creates some awareness of my connection to the floor. I also have a very fluffy puppy sitting right here, which is engaging my sense of touch as well because she's also very fluffy. I have a candle burning, don't I, Mari? And that helps engage my sense of smell. We talked about sensory rest last week. Whoops. Mari's toys are everywhere. And so I am not just engaging in a physical rest space, but also in a mental rest space. And these are things that create a holistic approach to physical health, as well as mental health, which is something I am skilled at and trained in and engaging in. Ooh. This one is the Cobra pose, and it is really helpful in stretching my lower back and my hips. And sometimes my hip pops when I'm in this too. All right, standing back up, doing some yoga poses specifically. What I have found helpful in this process is I'm gonna hit my mountain pose, is to have specific stretches already pulled out, right? So thinking about the week that we talked about mental rest and making a list. For me, I have some set stretches that I do already, and so I don't necessarily have to think about, what stretches am I doing now? Because my body is already in the rhythm of doing those stretches. Moving forward, I probably will start integrating some more shoulder stretching for my arms, but right now it's mostly been things that stretch my back and my hips. It works my core a little bit. Hit some mountain poses here. There are several YouTubers who are specifically trained in yoga and do yoga on their pages. My favorite is Yoga with Adrienne. And so if you guys want a more fuller look of some of the stretches that I am doing today, she would be a great place to go. and she knows all the names of the things and everything. I am a person who sees the stretch and then I can mimic the stretch and recognize that it feels good in my body. Right, Mari? She's like, I don't know, I'm just happy to be here. All right, switching to the other side here. I appreciate you guys joining me on this journey for the different types of rest, is as I have learned and recognized that, like, wait a minute, sleeping and waking up and then taking naps and waking up, sometimes I'm still tired, whether that's my mind, whether that's my body, and it has been so nice to learn some different ways to engage with myself, spend time with myself. This hurts my arms a little bit. As I practice taking care of my body and ultimately my mental health. Mari, can you do some downward dog with me? I don't think that you guys can necessarily see me right now, but that's okay. Doing a little bit of downward dog, which is something Lauren is really good at naturally, obviously. Come on. This engages my legs and my arms and my core a little bit too. Using my muscles to hold myself up. Being intentional about my feet placement and my hand placement and how long I am in this pose. Whoop. Lock myself back up. I hope that you guys can find some ways to engage in physical rest. Again, not just stretching and yoga poses, could be getting massage, could be taking a nice bath with some bubbles, with some bath salts, which I do have some. Obviously, I'm not going to do that with you guys. And yes, resting our bodies more than just a passively going to sleep and then waking up. Because that's something, even though it is really great and we need our sleep, it's not something that our body is necessarily aware of and mindful of. If you are like me, you're a little bit of a wild sleeper and you wake up and you're like, wow, all of my pillows, stuffed animals are now on the floor. Don't remember doing that. Well, I hope that you guys can join me next week as we are intentional about emotional rest. Yeah, do you need some emotional rest? You just need some physical rest of somebody rubbing on you. Thanks for joining.